Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Oh man, that's an old song right there. I remember that back when I was in high school. That song is old. Paul Hardcastle, 19. Anyways, I haven't done a video about the Vietnam Dong in a little while, so I thought I would go ahead and do one. Especially since people keep telling me that there is an individual claiming that the exchange rate for the Vietnam Dong is going to be in at $2. There is nothing out there that says that. Nothing out there. And I'm sorry, you guys, because I'm always a person that's peeing on your Wheaties. But look, I'll do what's called the hurt and heal method. First, I tell you the bad news, and then I tell you something that gives you at least something to smile about, all right? So, no, there is no intel person. There is no inside person. There is no inside banking person that's telling them what the exchange rate is, because the inside banking people wouldn't know that. So no, it's not $2, okay? Not at all. But like the Iraqi dinar, there is reason to believe that we might see an exchange rate take place. The thing about Vietnam is they're further along than Iraq is. They really are. As a matter of fact, over the last couple of years, they've had one hell of a GDP. The economy was phenomenal. They had small hurdles, but besides that, it took off. The other thing you got to keep in mind is there are globalists who like the Vietnam Dong where it is. And this is why the Vietnam Dong has been able to be manipulated by Vietnam, and nobody does anything to them. Trump tried to do something, but unfortunately, he never got around to doing it. There is a criteria that is kept on countries out there, and if you get 2 of the 3, then you're labeled a currency manipulator. But that hasn't been a problem for Vietnam because they've been labeled a currency manipulator, and nobody's done anything. Nobody's going to do anything neither. So let's get into this and see what we have to be smiling about. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link will be down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy Silver. Yes, it has changed. PIMPY-SILVER. So if you're watching this video and it's an older video, make sure you check on current videos, because the code is going to be changing from time to time from now on. Also, I can be found on other platforms. Everybody knows I have my own website, Pimpy's News Network. Over here, I post videos that I can't get away with over on YouTube. Also, I have a group on Facebook called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here, we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as foreign currency investments. Come on over here and join us. It's free to do so. You can also come follow me on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, and Odyssey. The links for all these platforms will be down below in the description. So for whatever reason, if I get removed off of one platform, you could find me on the others. For those of you looking for my address, there it is right here. Feel free to pause the video, go ahead and write it down, and reach out to me. Speaking of gold, man, it's unbelievable how many of my listeners have been purchasing gold. And so I'm happy to hear that, of course. So you guys keep up the good work, all right? You won't regret it. Later on, you're going to be very happy that you made that change, because your wealth is the one that's going to be protected, okay? So just, I'm happy to hear that. I just wanted to relay that message. So although this article is a little bit older, it does talk about what was happening, and I spoke about this before real quick. It said Vietnam's foreign exchange reserves to grow this year. And they're not talking about a little bit. They're talking about a lot. So just like Iraq, it said the Securities Corporation expects Vietnam's foreign exchange reserves to recover 3.3 months of imports and reach around $102 billion by the end of this year, from the current level of $89 billion last year. You know, at one time, Vietnam had $110 billion in its foreign reserves. And we know now Iraq is there too. Unfortunately, they had to spend a lot of the currency fighting to keep the Vietnam's exchange rate protected. So for the first 9 or 10 months, they battled hardcore, but the last quarter of the month, they've done really good. It's been very good. they still ended up with a surplus when it comes to trade. So before I go down that other path real quick, I found this interesting because this comes out like once every 6 months or so. And it says U.S. removes Vietnam from currency manipulation watch list. The U.S. Treasury Department has removed Vietnam from its currency manipulation watch list, as mentioned in a report sent to the Congress dated in November the 10th. Vietnam has been removed from the monitoring list as it met only one of the three criteria over the 4 quarters through June 2022. The criteria are current accounts surplus, trade surplus with the U.S., and one-way intervention into foreign exchange. So this is a crock of crap, I can tell you that. Because if you just look at this report right here, and this one here is from January of 2023. This is only a couple months after that report came out. This is an analysis done on Vietnam Dong have made forecasts and said that with the U.S. Federal Reserve slowing down the rate of interest rate hikes this year and improving Vietnam's foreign exchange reserves, it would stop the decline price in the Vietnam Dong. So remember I tell you they were crashing for a minute and then they stayed afloat and now they should have a surplus. At the same time, the rate at the end of the year is likely to decrease 1 to 2%. Besides, experts also expect a trade surplus of $13.4 billion this year from a trade surplus of $12.4 billion last year. So how can they have a trade surplus with the United States of $13 billion? You're supposed to say, I think it is within 3 or 4% of the other countries, somewhere along those lines. So you can see right here that this report under Biden, obviously, is just not surprising at all. Not surprising at all. Basically, what most likely happened is Biden's people went ahead and manipulated the data, but Vietnam is a currency manipulator. That's how they got a $13.4 billion this year in surplus against us. In other words, we owe them $13.4 billion. In addition, the current account will turn into a surplus at 1.4% of GDP this year from a projected deficit of 0.8% of GDP last year. According to the data published in March 2022, Vietnam's foreign exchange reserves are at a record high of nearly $110 billion. However, after that, the State Bank of Vietnam faced many difficulties in balancing the 3 main goals of controlling inflation, stabilizing the exchange rate, and interest rate to support growth. The SBV had to sell a large amount of foreign exchange reserves to stabilize the exchange rate. This is what I'm talking about. The same thing with Iraqi dinar. Do you see why having so much in reserves is important? It helps keep your exchange rate stable during times of need. So Vietnam had to sell some of their foreign currencies just to go ahead and stabilize the exchange rate. They're saying there's about 20% of the foreign exchange reserves in the first 10 months of last year. This has caused Vietnam's foreign exchange reserves to fall below the level recommended by the International Monetary Fund when it is less than 3 months of imports. So then it tells you what it is they're expecting as far as the trades are concerned. But down here it says, therefore, the security company said that Vietnam's foreign exchange reserves will recover to the level of 3 months of imports and reach $102 billion by the end of this year from the current levels of $89 billion. So that's really good. However, the VND Direct said that there are several key risks to the forecast, including higher than expected inflation and stronger than expected U.S. dollar, which could put additional pressure on the Vietnam Dong and a stronger than expected recession of Vietnam's major trade partners. This is what I'm talking about. The U.S. dollar is being used as a weapon to kill currencies around the world. In fact, Vietnam Dong once depreciated by 7 to 8% last year compared to the end of 2021. But by the last trading day of last year, Vietnam Dong only depreciated 3.53%, equivalent to half of the 2 previous months. So the Vietnam Dong continues to go down in value, trying to keep up with the stronger dollar. So Vietnam being removed off of the currency manipulation is just BS. But wait, there's hope. Look what Vietnam's doing. Vietnam has begun to develop its own central bank digital currency, a digital version of its own currency. The Southeast Asian country is thus following the example of over 80 central banks around the world. 80 central banks around the world have all started their central bank digital currency. They didn't start anything. It was already started. They're just sitting on it. Compared to other countries in the region, Hanoi got a comparative late start, and so far there has been little progress. However, China's progress in implementing the digital renminbi is creating greater pressure amongst policymakers in Vietnam. The policy paper analyzes developments to date and makes recommendations for the design of the Vietnamese central bank digital currency. So there they go. That's what's going to happen. I guarantee you they'll have their central bank digital currency out before the exchange rate goes up any significant amount. But I don't want you to be upset or depressed about what's going on in Vietnam. This person writes a letter, and he's kind of covering a bunch of different subjects, but he does cover a territory about Vietnam that I think you should hear. So he goes on to explain that he was a student from the Midwest in the USA during the 1969-73, a period that was a decisive time in the 20 years of the Vietnam War. Most of my American friends and classmates were in blah, blah, blah. He gets into it. Not that I want to get all into that part. He explains the history of the Vietnam War a little bit. Because of the war, they were a country that was decimated by the war, and they had to recover. So here's the thing about this article that I like. So as you read in here, what you find out is Vietnam really got hurt when they started relying on other countries. They were hurt. So what they decided to do was be self-sufficient. Obviously, not every little thing that Vietnam needs is there in Vietnam, but most everything is. We could do the same here in the United States. For the most part, we could do the same thing here in the United States. That is, manufacture and create all the things that we need. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of greedy bastards that like to send their corporations out to places like Vietnam and China because the labor is cheaper there, and then turn around and import it back to us and then get a profit. That's what Trump was fixing while he was in office. What we saw him do was tell everybody you have to bring your companies back here and manufacture here, giving jobs to our people here. That's what he was doing. And they called him a racist and everything else. It's like, okay, yes, we get it. Everything is racist. We know this. Everything's misogynist and yeah, whatever. Anyways, it's not racist. He was trying to set America up to be protected against this economical crash that's coming. So he was telling them, look, you guys got to come over here and do your manufacturing here. If not, I'll slap a tariff on you that's equal to what you would have paid out here in the United States had you stayed here. So it was a good thing. I supported it. And unfortunately, again, we are where we are today. So he's going on to talk about how, you see right here, industrial production and construction in Vietnam have maintained exponential growth, creating a great diversity of products. The quality of Vietnam's goods has found popular acceptance in both domestic and international markets. Vietnam has also focused on developing a number of new and advanced technologies. Agriculture has undergone significant changes, transforming the nation from a food-hungry country to one of the world's largest exporters of rice, coffee, rubber, cashew, pepper, and seafoods. I don't know why you would throw rubber in there if you're talking about food. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? Services have flourished from tourism and telecommunications to banking, finance, and legal counseling to meet the growing demand of both businesses and individuals. The extraction of natural resources and environmental protection has been aligned with sustainable development goals to produce encouraging outcomes. Planned improvements have been made to transport power, information, and telecommunications, and urban, education, and healthcare infrastructure. Importantly, Vietnam has endeavored to promote the application of advanced technology as a catalyst for a transition to a knowledge-based economy. What they did was really smart. He said a short review of the trade statistics underlines the economic progress of Vietnam. In 2022, exports were $375 billion, while imports crossed $360 billion. This trade figure enabled Vietnam to continue to post a trade surplus for most of the past decade. Vietnam's retail e-commerce market of 2022 was around $16.4 billion US dollars, making up 7.5% of the total consumer goods and services revenue, and in the process becoming fifth largest globally in e-commerce growth. Since 2019, it has ranked second within Asia in terms of the trade value. This exhibits the importance of regional trade. In 2021, it ranked 23rd in the world in terms of export value and 20th in terms of import value. Despite unprecedented changes in the world, Vietnam has taken strategic measures to enhance the economy's self-reliance, thus helping facilitate exports and attracting foreign investment to further boost economic development and improve the country's prominence. To say that they've done a great job is an understatement. I told you, even during the lockdown, they could have done so much better, but they still managed to have an economical growth. Despite the RONA in 2020, they still had a great year as far as economic growth. It could have been better had other ports been open, but that wasn't the case. But I want to get to this last paragraph right here, because this is important. It says, I remember that in the autumn of 2006, in a meeting with then President Pervez Musharraf, where increasing exports to 50 billion was highlighted, I mentioned to him to please study Vietnam. Unfortunately, the government ministries and TDAPT were and still are fixed on just textiles. Pakistan is still touting around 30 billion, while 50 billion is still many moons away. So, he's over there in Pakistan. That's what he's making a comparison between the two economies. But again, it's important for us here. Pakistan is for the elite state captures that is self-centered. Did you hear that? Pakistan is for the elite state capture that is self-centered, and it is not for the rest of the 230 million citizens. Wow. The global words of Ho Chi Minh still echo as a beacon for oppressed people in many lands across the globe. He said that our secret weapon is nationalism. To have nationhood, which is a sign of maturity, is greater than any weapon in the world. Absolutely. The success of Vietnam is a vivid example of citizens uniting to achieve nationhood. When Trump tried to promote nationalism, he was attacked as being a racist, and a lot of people out there fell for it. No, don't you understand? The whole time Trump was in office, what he was trying to do was exactly what this guy is talking about. When Trump was in office, he was fighting tooth and nail to bring manufacturing back here, make sure trade was fair amongst other countries, as well as many other steps to make sure that once this crisis finally does hit us, it won't be as bad as it would have been if we weren't where we are now. I like what the guy said in that report, and that is, the citizens came together. They united together under nationalism and created a nationhood. And that's how they ended up with such a strong economy. Anyways, I thought you guys might get a kick out of that. You guys let me know what you think down below. I look forward to your comments, and I will catch you later. I'm out.